Hi, everybody. I'm John, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Musings of a Marine. I'm going to talk about something today that's very near and dear to my heart, and it's the city of Iloilo. Now, I've previously done a video about retiring there, but I've told about my trips going there, but I haven't really talked a lot about the city in great detail, and I'd like to do that today because this is undoubtedly a place in the Philippines that to this day, in a lot of ways, is the hidden gem. And if people only realized what a great place that Iloilo is, they wouldn't ever want to live in the Manila area or a lot of other places in the country. Now, I haven't been all over the Philippines. I've been to just a few places, Baguio, Angeles, and Manila, of course. And I've been to the island of Guimaras, and I've been to the city of Bacolod, and, places like that. Been near Subic in the city of Olongapo. So I've seen some places. I haven't been everywhere. But I can tell you one thing. I don't think there's any place in the Philippines that I'd rather be than in Iloilo. There's other places to go see. A lot of great things to do in the country. But if you're going to do that, where's your home base going to be? And for me, it would be Iloilo because it's almost right in the center of the country and they have an international airport. It wasn't always that way, though. When I met my wife in 1997, I knew she was a Filipino, and that's why I wanted to go out with her in the first place. I actually answered an ad that I saw in a magazine called Singles Network. And I answered her ad, and a Filipina. So I finally meet my wife, Diana, and I asked her, "What part of the Philippines are you from?" Iloilo, she said. Where the heck is that? Up until that time, I only knew 4 places, maybe 5 places in the Philippines, and that was Manila, Baguio, Olongapo, Angeles, and the city of Ormoc, because I knew somebody from there. And that was, of course, in the island of Leyte, which I had heard of because of the Battle of Leyte Gulf. But other than that, I didn't know anything about the country when I met her. And when she said Iloilo, okay, where's that at? Well, it's in the center of the country. But even Diana's not that good of a, as far as geography goes. So one day we were over at my parents' house and they had a globe in their living room. And it just so happens that Iloilo was actually a significant enough city to where it was on the globe. So I got to see exactly where it was. So, of course, as I mentioned, in 2002, I finally went there with her. And I also mentioned that the airport was very small and could barely handle the small jet that landed there because the landing strip was so short. There wasn't a lot to do in Iloilo those days. SM City Mall was there, but that was about it. They had just opened up the Robinsons Mall. It was brand new. Half the stores weren't even open then in 2002. And, of course, I've probably mentioned it before, the public bathrooms didn't have seats on the toilets, nor did they provide toilet paper. So I remember going to Robinson's Mall in 2002 to meet up with some of Diana's friends, and lo and behold, I needed to go to the bathroom, and sure enough, we had to go to a store and buy toilet paper. So, too much information, right? But just to let you know how things were. And then when we went back there in 2006, hadn't really changed all that much. The cruddy cement road in front of our subdivision was still all tore up on the one side, where jeepneys and tricycles had to drive over it on a snail's pace. But there was one development, a place called the Metropolis had opened, a subdivision, and they had a swimming pool where Di's cousin worked. So, hey, now we got a swimming pool to go to at least. And of course, we went to the famous resort island of Boracay. And that's another thing that's great about Iloilo, is you're not that far from Boracay. 6-hour bus ride, short ferry boat ride, and you're there. Whereas most people have to fly to get there, which costs a lot more. And then they still have to go to the city of Cataclan and before they can take the ferry over there. So there's some advantages there. But any place you want to go in the country, Iloilo, of course, is now a central hub. And if they don't fly there, you can take a ferry there within a reasonable amount of time. Hence, it didn't take us long to get to Guimaras, didn't take us long to get to Bacolod, anything like that. I wish Iloilo's airport would have more direct flights to other parts of the country, but I guess air travel still isn't that busy yet. But again, in 2006, we flew into this small, dinky, dilapidated airport. So I didn't see much improvement in the city at that time, though I knew I wanted to possibly retire there, more because of Di's family than anything. And then in 2010, when we went there for my father-in-law's funeral, lo and behold, they had a brand new airport. It was only a year old at the time. They built it in 2009. We arrived in 2010, and wow, look at this place. You actually don't have to climb down a ladder to get off the plane. They actually have a real terminal where the walkway butts up to the plane, just like most airports that you would go to. And the landing strip was much, much longer. The negative part was it was a bit further away from our home, but still, the facility was great. And you actually had a actual baggage claim carousel now, instead of them just taking the stuff off of the plane and then just staging it on the floor somewhere, and then you had to, walk through all of it and see which one was yours. So, yeah, now the country's starting to step up a little bit. You've got, of course, SM City Mall still going, and now you've got Robinson's Mall in full force. We didn't get to see a lot of it. I also learned, of course, that they have a very good Ford dealership there. And that's the one thing about Iloilo. It may not be the most highest volume Ford dealership in the country, but getting to know the people who work there and the awards that they won for a smaller city, they were selling a lot of Ford vehicles there. And for the record, Iloilo is the 20th largest city population-wise in the country, and it doesn't even have 400,000 people in it. And that's a good thing, I think, because now you're not going to have, even with the way the city has grown, you don't have the traffic, you don't have the crowds like you would do in Manila. When you take a taxi cab in Iloilo, even to this day, it still doesn't take that long to get where you're going. Churches are getting more and more crowded now as more people move into the city. But you start to see how things are changing. And then when we went there in 2014 for the holidays, I barely even recognized the place. And that's when I knew Iloilo was really, really becoming a first-class city. It cleaned up the Iloilo River. They had built a river walk where you could walk along the river. And they had things to do there, an ice cream store, pedal cars for the kids, a lot of neat stuff. Free Zumba classes right there on the river. Free Zumba classes. Yes, you heard me correctly. Okay. So Baba, my nephew, and I, we walked down there one night, and I couldn't believe it. But now, not only do you have that, but you now have Mega World. And it was in its infancy then. They took the land from the old airport in the sector of the city called Mindario, and that's where they started building it. And there wasn't a lot there, but Di and I saw an opportunity, and that's why we bought into a condo, which is now complete, as I've mentioned. We saw an opportunity, and I saw a city that was going to really, really grow. When we had our house built, we would not dare leave that house unattended. Somebody always had to be there, because in a big open field behind our house was nothing but a bunch of squatters living there. And we knew that if they needed anything, they would come in the Lucky Home subdivision where our house was and possibly steal something. And we didn't want that happening. So we always had to keep it, attended at all times. Well, by 2014, you've got this wonderful, actually it was probably 2010, they already had this nice brand new subdivision built there. And of course they had the Centennial, which was a small resort with a swimming pool, so we didn't have to travel as far to go swimming in a public pool. And you could see how that area was growing. As a matter of fact, on Balabago Road in Haro, the district of Iloilo where our house is, they are going to build a new SM City Mall there. And I don't know how they're going to do it, because Balabago Road's a one, 2-lane road, one way going towards the city and one way going out, and those are the only lanes available. So I can only imagine how they're going to make this project work. But they'll make it work. They'll make it work, and I know they will because of what I've seen. Because that little resort Centennial now has a place called Waterworld. It is a full-fledged water park. And it's not as big as I've seen, but it is nice. And it stays very, very busy, as you can imagine, with the heat there. So you see that happening. And then we go back there in 2018, and now our condo's almost done. The Festive Walk shopping mall there in Mindario has been built. And you can really see how this city has grown. And you've got more condos going up, and the convention center is already built. And you've got the Richmond Hotel with a swimming pool on its roof. Folks, this isn't some rinky-dink city in the Philippines anymore. This place is for real. A convention center? That means a lot of people are coming into this city. And they're building all these condos? Somebody must be buying them. Whether it's foreign or domestic, some people are buying them. And now you've got direct flights from the Iloilo's airport to Singapore and Hong Kong. Direct flights, okay, to two very important areas to Filipinos, because there's a lot of overseas Filipino workers in both of those areas. So I just seen an explosion. But it was funny to me when we were there in 2014, and we go to the mall, and when I go in the SM City store, Shoe Mart, and I go into the bathroom, there's seats on the toilets, and there's even toilet paper available, which absolutely blew me away, because I wasn't expecting that. But if you're going to attract foreign investors, you got to do that. So I really, really do love that city. And it was amazing. It's continuing to grow. Our condo wasn't quite done yet, but it is now. And some of the shops weren't open yet, but they're going to probably open now, and some very, very soon. You know, why would you want to live in a dusty, polluted, overcrowded city when everything you would want you can find in Iloilo with way less amount of people, way less amount of traffic, and be in the heart of the whole country? That's where I'd want to be. There is nothing to my knowledge that you can do in the big city that you can't do in Iloilo, unless you're into the red light district, which Iloilo doesn't have one. I'd say that's a good thing. So that's my sales pitch for the city. A place I never even heard of, didn't even know existed when I met my wife. And I have seen in every trip that I go there over the course of 4-year increments just how it has exploded and just how much more there is to do there. I was worried back in 2006 when I thought, hey, maybe we could retire here. Boy, but what would I do? I don't worry about that anymore. If I was to live in Iloilo for good, full time, there would be plenty to do. So if you are a Filipino and you are watching this, and I'm sure you've heard of the city, you might want to consider it as a place to retire or a place to live, because more and more jobs are being created as the city expands. And the economy's gotten better, and you don't see all the squatters that you used to see, and you don't see the homeless that you used to see. A lot of that got cleaned up, and I'll bet a lot of them people found jobs with everything that opened up. So that's my sales pitch for Iloilo. They call it the City of Love because the people are so nice there, and it is a well-deserved title. That's all for now. I'm John. Thanks for tuning in. Semper Fi, and God bless.